Good morning from WKYT News. I'm Bill Bryant, and we hope that you are enjoying your Christmas weekend. A little bit later, 'tis the season for returns and exchanges and using those gift cards that were under the tree. Heather Clary from the Better Business Bureau will join us with some of the rules and your rights here in Kentucky when it comes to that. But first, on Kentucky Newsmakers, a lot of songs this time of year are about being home for the holidays. Today's first guest talks about the importance of home and the buying and selling trends that we're seeing right now in the bluegrass real estate market. What are people looking for in homes? What should sellers think about before they put a house or condo on the market? Is the dead of winter a good time to list or buy, or is it best to wait until the spring? And what about the interest rate hike? We'll be talking about the potential effects of borrowing money becoming more expensive in the future. Larry Friel is the president of the Lexington Bluegrass Association of Realtors. We appreciate you, Larry, coming in. You're wrapping up your term,
I am,
right?
Bill. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And I know you've had an enjoyable year, including hosting the statewide candidates for a forum back in the fall,
and thank you for your part in that.
Visibility. It was fun. As people are busy with their Christmas shopping, looking ahead now to a new year, what trends did we see in 2015 in terms of home buying in central Kentucky and the area you serve?
First of all, we think everyone should have a new home for the holidays, so thanks for that, Bill. We like that. Bill, it's been an awesome year. Double-digit gains in our areas of service. Fayette in particular, nearly 15% year over year. Inventory still remains tight, so it's somewhat of a seller's market. And in other words, if you're a buyer looking, you've got to have your ducks in a row, have your financing in order, be ready to go, have your amenities and wants and needs really nailed down prior to looking.
Well, what should those in the market for a home be thinking about as these interest rates have now started to rise? We had the first announced increase last week. We know that money's going to become more expensive, isn't it? It
is, Bill. The Federal Reserve raised by about a quarter point on the Fed, and that will trickle down eventually to higher interest rates for home mortgages. However, the rates are still hovering at about 4% depending on your credit, which is still near historic lows. So those on the fence really should get in the market. It will over time go up, and if they raise it gradually, we don't see a big issue. However, buying power will diminish somewhat as those interest rates go up. You're going to pay more for interest for the same amount of house, in theory.
As the regulations have tightened over the recent years, what should a potential buyer be ready for?
Sure. Well in advance of their purchase date, if you will, they need to talk to a couple of people, find a really high-quality, high-performance realtor, and find a good mortgage person. The mortgage person can run their credit, look at the scenario, look at their cash down for that deposit, and really help them zero in on the right price range for the home that they may want to live in. The realtor can find and help them the exact amenities they wish to have. So those two people are key well in advance of them jumping into the market.
Is the wintertime a good time to list or look, or is it that you wait until the thaw of spring before people get active?
No. Actually, the wintertime, the dead of winter, I've had clients that have gotten their best deals in the wintertime, Bill. The sellers that are out there typically are very serious sellers. In other words, a lot of folks don't test the market at Christmas time. But the sellers that are out there are real again, and the buyers, if they're serious and are willing to do it in the wintertime, can get tremendous value.
If you're going to list at some point, if it's right away or it's going to be a few weeks away, what are some things that you should have in order in terms of sprucing up, having the curb appeal, having the home ready to be seen?
You nailed it, Bill. Declutter, neutralize, do some updating if you can. If it's in your budget, neutralize some fixtures, faucets, colors, neutralize loud colors, borders, wallpaper, things like that. Also, there's a lot of things that people can do with the green initiative or smart home. There's a big trend with builders and remodelers to build those things into the homes, and it's not hugely a big price issue if you do it on some small levels. You can have light bulbs, for example, that double as speakers or Wi-Fi extenders. You can have your smartphone turn on your lights, monitor your garage door, tell you if it's left open. There's all sorts of things that you can do that are a few $100s, not several thousand.
In some cases, some tax advantages to that?
Absolutely. Geothermal, for example, is a green initiative that there's federal tax incentives to do that. Now, that's a substantially more money, But if your HVAC is aging and needs replaced, that's certainly something you should consider.
Is it easier for you to sell a home that is empty or with some furniture in there?
A light amount of staging is always a good thing, but people love to use their imagination, and sometimes a completely empty house is hard to imagine with your stuff in it lived in.
What are the trends that you're seeing out there in terms of, and I know that there's no such thing as one size fits all, but we hear that some are now going for smaller spaces. Is that a trend that you're seeing?
Well, we watch the national shows. We see the container homes. We're not seeing that locally, but there is a trend toward maybe smaller square feet, more efficient, more open in the areas in the home. So in other words, they'll take the second, third, and fourth bedroom and put it in the family room, the eating area, the livable kitchen, or the outdoor living.
Do most buyers expect a home to be perfect when they buy it, or do some have a willingness to do some of the work themselves if it means they get a better deal?
Absolutely. Hopefully their realtor has counseled them that there is no perfect house anywhere. But having said that, the expectations are there, and the realtor is going to encourage them to do a home inspection, for example, to uncover things that that seller may not even know, things that they'll have to pay for or upgrade or repair in the first few years of that home.
Do you find that's usually a good negotiating point when people come down to, well, I'm going to have to do this, this, and this, just to make it, habitable?
It can be. We try to focus on the main components in the inspection bill versus nitpicking the way the appearances, the cosmetics. In other words, HVAC, the plumbing, the heating and cooling, those main components is what we look at primarily for the inspection.
Is the value of somebody's home largely based on the sales in that area recently?
It's completely based on that. When we do a market analysis for people, for potential sellers, for example, we will try to use the most recent 6 months sales that are most like kind for their property. And you weigh the others against their home, what differences they have, larger, smaller square feet, different amenities, and come up with an adjusted value for their home. So it's completely based on the comparison sales.
And that could work both ways, because people sometimes, if they're going to stay there, they want the assessment to be lower, right?
Absolutely.
So
we learn both ways, don't we?
Right. Do people tend to balk at homeowner association fees, or is it more likely that they enjoy the protections that an association like that might offer in terms of some of the rules and stability that it can bring to the neighborhood?
I think the latter, Bill. I think most of our areas see that. In fact, we're seeing trends, for example, in Scott County. They've got some initiatives for homeowners associations. It gives you a more stable environment. You kind of know what's going in across the street, down the road, and it does cost a little, everybody collectively, but it's a peace of mind, and I think our area, Central Kentucky, really values that.
How is the condo market right now in Lexington?
Condos are about 5% of our whole, so it's never been a huge part. The sales are up. We have some interesting pockets of development with condos, but again, it's about 5% of our whole in Fayette County, certainly, and a little lesser when you get to other counties of service.
Can people expect those to hold their value in the same way that a single-family dwelling might?
They can. The appreciation may be a touch less than single-family overall when you look at the raw numbers, but the value certainly is there, and the condo lifestyle is going to pick up. Our national speakers tell us that the people downsizing, turnkey ready, if you will, to go to Florida half the year, the condo market, especially with our boomers, will pick up.
We hear talk of the silvering or graying of Kentucky. Is that something that the home market is prepared for? Look at all these 2-3-story homes that have been built, right?
Prepared for? Probably not, because those folks will want to move down to single floor living at some point. More turnkey, more maintenance free. They want to turn it, lock it up and leave. That's going to be a huge influx of buyers and sellers.
As the millennials come into the home market, are they looking for new or old, perfect or a fixer-upper? What do they tend to be looking for?
Yes, yes, and yes.
Yeah.
The millennials actually jumped in the market in 2015. We were really encouraged at this. About 2 million of that 18 to 34 market bought this year, which is about a third. They have been resistant to buying and still remain so a little bit. They're saddled with school loans that are substantial in some cases. Maybe they're not in the job that they think they will be in for the long term. They've taken maybe a lesser job than what they're qualified for. So there's still a lot of people that have yet to get into that market.
Do you have to deal with them in a different way? Do they want to communicate differently than folks who
they do.
have some tread on the tires?
They do.
Some tread off the tires?
Yeah, no snail mail. The texting is about their conversational. That's what their preference is, absolutely.
How difficult is it to market properties when school district lines are in flux?
It does make it interesting. We encourage all of our consumers that if schools are of interest in their home buying process, along with the amenities, that they need to do the research. Go to their local Board of Association website. Those sites typically will have test scores. There are also some national sites that aggregate those. Do your homework. And yes, while they're in flux, it makes it tough, especially for those that think they are on the border of some schools. In Fayette County, we know they're building several new schools, a couple of elementary and new high schools, so that's going to help out somewhat.
Larry, people want to be able to trust somebody they have in their home. A couple of weeks ago, it was reported and all in the news here that a realtor was accused of stealing from a home that he was showing. How can you assure people that that is extremely rare?
Bill, it indeed is an extreme rare occurrence. We're going to have about 200,000 instances of our electronic lock boxes being opened this year for consumers. Almost every single one of them happened without incident. So this was a very remote instance. When we heard of that, his access to our system has been turned off, so he has no access to any home for sale.
There was also this interesting issue that came up that I think you want the legislature to perhaps deal with, and that is that the owner of a home in Kentucky can be sued if a pet belonging to a tenant at a rental property attacks somebody while it's being shown or at any other time.
It doesn't sound possible. It really doesn't, but that's the case, and we're working hard on that.
Has that been an issue that have people
there
faced
have been
in Lexington?
Yes. I'm not sure about Lexington, but in the state, yes.
Are there other things that realty professionals will be pushing in the upcoming legislative session? Always,
we want to preserve that mortgage interest deduction. Any tax benefits and incentives for homeowners, we certainly will encourage and bring out.
You'll be succeeded by Carl Tackett
in
Georgetown, right?
Yes, sir.
Is he ready to go?
He is ready to go, and we're in good hands.
All right. Thank you for coming, Larry. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Bill.
You've kept us updated very well throughout the year, and you want to get information in about where people can...
I did. Consumers can look at LBAR.com for actives, pendings, and solds. In addition to LBAR.com, they can get there via WKYT.com, a media partner.
All right. We appreciate that. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Bill.
Hope you'll stay with us now on WKYT's Kentucky Newsmakers. Heather Clary from the Better Business Bureau. What are your rights? What are the rules when it comes to returns and those gift cards? We're back on WKYT's Kentucky Newsmakers. Welcome back into WKYT's Kentucky Newsmakers. You may have gotten a gift card or two or three for Christmas, and lots of people are exchanging what doesn't fit or gifts that are the wrong color or wrong pattern. What are the rules in Kentucky when it comes to refunds and exchanges? Heather Clary is here from the Better Business Bureau. The BBB has also just released the top 10 scams of 2015, and we'll ask her about that and a new way to let others know when you've had a positive or a negative experience with a business. Heather, joining us today. We thank you very much for being here. Hope you've had good holidays so far.
I did.
Well, first of all, for those with gift cards, what are the rules right now? And are there things that you should keep in mind about expiration dates, that kind of thing?
Gift cards, it's the gift of shopping. Who doesn't love those, right? But the thing with gift cards is, and many people may not be aware of it, is that they are not to have an expiration date until at least 5 years from the purchase or the last time I had money loaded on it. So you do have a long time to use those, although there's some other things to keep in mind because you don't want to lose the value of the card.
So the law requires them to have 5 years?
Yes, at least. Yeah. Oh, and the date needs to be printed on there, or if not, you have 5 years. Also, you can lose value of a gift card if you do just throw it in the jewelry box or whatever in the sock drawer and just leave it and forget about it, because inactivity fees can be charged after 1 year of non-use. And that's going to vary from card to card. So you may want to look into that, which is another good reason to use it as soon as you can. Another reason to use it as soon as you can is this happens every year. A business may end up going out of business or bankrupt or something of that nature.
And
We've seen
what happens
that,
in that case?
Sometimes you're out of luck. Sometimes you're able to use them at a corporate online. Maybe it's just a location locally that closed. You may notice that happened with Radio Shack last year. A lot of people were left with some gift cards. They were able to use them other places. You know, that happened with Sears a few years ago. Some of those went out of business. Sometimes you're stuck. Sometimes a competitor might make a deal to accept them. So don't let that happen, though. Use it if you can, but do look into it. If you do have one, a business goes out of business, sometimes they will have some information on their website and whatnot, how you can get some value out of that.
Heather, can there be restrictions about what you can buy with the gift card?
Generally, you're supposed to be able to use it for anything that the store sells. Now, some people give those reloadable gift cards like Visa, MasterCard that are just loaded with money, and you can use those anywhere. There is a fee to buy those for someone, but you may want to check to make sure that a gift card can be used. Is it only used at the bricks and mortar location, or can you use it online as well, either or both, because you may be able to order something online with it instead of having to go out and shop for something.
All right. What if it has a magnetic strip or a chip or something, and that goes bad over time?
Well, that's why it's a good idea to have the receipt for the gift card if you can, and if you're giving the gift card, of course, hopefully you've given the receipt in case there's theft, loss, or something happens to that, and if you can register that gift card on the company's website. That's good with restaurant cards or retail stores and that kind of a thing, just to kind of help you have that, because if it's gone, it's gone.
But in the chance of a theft, you might be able to stop it, right?
Well, you might be able to recover the, if you know your wallet's been ripped off and you have that receipt somewhere, you may be able to contact the retailer or the restaurant or whoever, corporate, and say, this is what's happened, can you help me out, and then follow their directions.
Well, there were probably all kinds of things under the tree at a lot of folks' homes out there, and if you have items to return because it's the wrong size, or the wrong color, the pattern is just not right, what are generally the policies at stores, and is it completely up to those stores to set their policies?
A lot of people don't realize that state law allows stores to set their own return and exchange policies. And they don't have to post it, but most of them do. Or often it's on a receipt from something you've purchased so that you can see, or it's on their website to see. And a lot of them will relax those a little bit during the holidays because they know people are in a stampede to come back and get the deals like this weekend after Christmas. So, but they are allowed to set those policies. I mean, they may require a receipt before you can return something and get cash. Otherwise, they may only give you store credit or a straight exchange on a different size or color of something. And they're allowed to do that, so just keep that in mind. And of course, if someone gave you something that was all sales final, it's all sales final. It doesn't hurt to ask at customer service, but just keep those things in mind if you are heading to the return desk at your mall.
Yeah, so it's really up to them from a competitive standpoint to be friendly with the customers.
Sure, and a lot of them will. I mean, they want to generate more business and try to be kind to customers, but if you don't have a receipt, and some people will take stuff back and still give you a cash refund, or they'll only give you the store credit or the exchange. Just keep that in mind and find out, and then choose what you want to replace it.
For those who shopped online, if for some reason the gift didn't work out, what are you likely to need to make an exchange or a return there?
Hopefully the person who gave it to you will tell you where they got it from and what the website is, so that you can look up and see what the return policy is. Most websites do have that on there. Some of them will pay for the shipping too. You might have to ask them to send you a shipping label to get the item back, so that you can exchange that and get something else, or maybe they can give you a gift card in exchange. Again, that would be like store credit for online. So just check with the store. Generally, the website's the best way to go, or call an 800 customer service number.
Seemed to notice there was more hard selling of warranties this year, and be it even a video game or something like that, for an extra amount, then it's protected and all of that. What do you generally tell people about those?
It's kind of, you want to look at what the warranty is going to cover, or the extended service contract. Is it going to cover repairs? Is it going to cover replacement of the item? Warranties like anything else. You don't buy it and you wish you had it, or you may buy it and not need it, and it expires after a certain amount of time. And then some people, depending on what they're buying, they might decide that the warranty costs almost as much as buying a new one of whatever this is. So it just kind of varies on what the item is. And speaking of electronic items, video games, like you said, some of those will have restocking fees, especially if the plastic's been ripped off of them, that kind of thing. So if you have to return those, don't be surprised if there is a small restocking fee, because there are some items, especially electronics, videos, CDs, things like that, those will be charged.
Is there generally a deadline on returns as well?
Yeah, every store sets their own. Sometimes it'll be 30 days. If somebody bought this, 60 days ago, you may be racing against the clock. Other ones, you can return them forever and they don't care. Some stores have that as their gimmick to get you to come to their store. Again, check with the store's policy on that, or sometimes after a certain amount of time, they'll only give you the store credit as opposed to a cash or exchange type return.
As we have said, retailers and others live on their reputations.
Yeah.
And the BBB has come up with a platform where consumers can let others know about their experiences, whether they're positive or negative.
Yes.
Right?
Customer reviews have really taken over people's retail shopping decisions or hiring to work on your home. You got your Yelps, your TripAdvisors, your Amazon, your Google+. Well, now the Better Business Bureau system has had customer reviews in place for about a year now, where you can get on the BBB site and look up the company. If you had a great experience with them, you can let everybody else know, hey, I'd recommend these folks. This is what they did for me. If you had maybe not so good of an experience, you can post that as well. Although the BBB does still have our dispute resolution program, where if you are having a problem, rather than just vent about it in a bad review, perhaps we can help you with a complaint process and bring you and the business together to resolve that issue. So simply all you have to do is go to our website, bbb.org/Lexington, look up the company that you wish to post a review about, and click the part that says submit a customer review. We're going to send it to the business and let them be sure to respond to it if they'd like. And so that's a really great way to let other people know, or to just thank a business for being so great.
And you have to keep in mind what you write is likely to be public, right?
Oh, it will be, yes. Now, we're not going to put your last name on there, but we are going to verify that you did have a transaction with the business of some kind. And so we kind of vet those. That's the difference. And businesses are allowed to respond to these, unlike some of the other platforms out there. So it's a really well-balanced, two-sided type review process.
Do they typically, the businesses, explain themselves and what went wrong?
If they'd like to, they do, or if they even get on and say thanks for the great review, but they have that option, and then they can reach out to that customer. Who knows, maybe the customer would like to turn that around to a positive review. Hey, they took care of my problem.
And that's at your website, right?
Yes, bbb.org/Lexington.
All right. We're with Heather Clary of the Better Business Bureau. There have been some big scams in 2015. What are the top ones? We'll talk about that before we go here on WKYT's Kentucky Newsmaker. Welcome back into WKYT's Kentucky Newsmakers. I'm Bill Bryant, and with us is Heather Clary of the Better Business Bureau. The top 10 scams of 2015. And Heather, they are interesting, led off by an IRS tax scam.
Oh, the IRS phone scam has been rampant across the United States. There have been victims to this phone scam, including here in Kentucky. People come to home to find a message on their answering machine or their voicemail stating that it's the IRS and that an arrest warrant's going to be issued or a lawsuit's going to be filed because you didn't pay some back taxes. This has been going on all over the country. The IRS has been warning about it. The problem is the people behind it are generally overseas somewhere. They're spoofing the phone numbers they're calling from using computers. So we're advising people, if you get this message, don't call it back. It's not the IRS. They notify you by mail. Every day we get numerous ones. And this is the top scam across the nation, according to the BBB Scam Tracker, which is also a new tool we're using online where consumers report these in real time.
Let's look at another one, fraudulent debt collectors.
That's
what do we mean?
really picked up in the last year. People being called by someone saying, we're going to arrest you. You owe this old payday loan that you took out several years ago. And that's the main one they will use. We want to remind people that federal law requires a debt collector to provide you with written proof of the debt sent by mail. So just because someone's on the other end of the phone, you don't have to believe them, especially if they're talking about something you don't remember. Some people are very frightened by these. But again, don't pay someone over the phone just because of threats. They can't arrest you for not paying a debt. If they don't want to send you something in the mail, then chances are it's a scam.
From the greatest hits collection, sweepstakes and prizes.
The hits just keep on coming.
Right.
Sweepstakes, prize offers, cards in the mail. Call, you've won a gift card shopping spree at Target. You know, sweepstakes offers. This is Publishers Clearinghouse. Yeah. They don't call you either, and all of these involve you having to pay some kind of a fee, which is, of course, against the law. If you've won money, you shouldn't have to pay a dime, except for the taxes to the IRS after you get the prize.
Computer tech support.
That's another one that's really picked up, and I believe we've talked about that before here on your all's news programs. People get a call on the phone saying, this is Microsoft, and there's a problem. Your computer's about to crash, or your computer's been hacked, and they fool people into taking steps that gives control of the machine over to the caller, and the caller allegedly installs some new anti-malware. They may just be putting another virus on there and stealing your information, or they're putting nothing on there at all and charging you money for it to add insult to injury. So don't talk to those people if they call you. This is also happening with pop-ups. So if you have a problem with it, just unplug it, take it to somebody you can trust. The BBB can hook you up with companies you can trust to do that, to fix it.
Another is an offer of a free government grant. Well, of course.
That's a perennial favorite. It comes and goes in waves, and especially this time of year when people have bills to pay. That sounds really great. The government is not calling people offering grant money. Again, it's a give money to get money thing. They want you to send some sort of a fee, wire it by MoneyGram, or load it on a reloadable card like a Green Dot Money Pack card to pay a $200 fee. Don't do it. It's not the government calling.
Advance fee loans. What does that mean?
People are looking for loans. They may not have very good credit, so they turn to the internet, and anybody can set up a website, and they will say, because you don't have very good credit, we need you to pay a fee up front in the first month's payment and the last month's payment in order to get this. Well, those are illegal in the United States. Don't go online looking for one of those. Generally, all they do is just take your money, you don't get a loan, and you're out that money.
All right, and then the rest of them include the last
credit card, phone scams related, work from home offers. That's always there. Fake checks and money orders. People want to pay you with one of those to buy something you're selling online. And of course, the foreign lotteries. They're even using the name Mega Millions. Of course, you have to buy a ticket to play a lottery. So.
Heather, as always, thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us for this edition of WKYT's Kentucky Newsmakers. We'll have the latest for you bright and early on WKYT this morning throughout the week, and you make it a good week ahead.